It's a great day to go out and vote for people who belong to the Democratic Party. Thank God that's not me. But yeah, it's the Democratic primary today. And I've seen pictures, actual pictures of people lining up enthusiastically ahead of time to vote.
What people need to understand about New York, too, is those concrete buildings hold the heat, right? It's like it's like walking next to an oven. You know, it gives off heat. And so just be standing there waiting to vote. And for what? For this Democratic socialist, which is a nice way of softening socialist, who looks like he's going to win. We have to talk about this crazy guy. His name is Zohran Mamdani. I keep messing up his last name. Yeah. I don't know. Mamdani. And he is a strange man who wants a $30 minimum wage. It's just over half that right now. He wants a $30 minimum wage. He wants no more police. He wants social workers instead. He wants free bus rides, which would cost almost $1 billion for New Yorkers or somebody. I don't know who's going to pay that. He wants to make sure rent-stabilized apartments can't have any increase in their rent. Not sure who's going to pay for that either. He wants a lot of government handouts. He basically, when it comes to police and law and justice, looks like Chesa Boudin, the booted out of office DA in San Francisco. And when it comes to his philosophy on running a city, when it comes to cops and social safety net and also just giveaways, he looks like just like Brandon Johnson in Chicago. He's terrifying. And the New York community, pathetic as it is, just rolled over and let it happen. They rolled over. And Charles Gasparino has a great piece in the Post today, New York Post, about how these feckless MFers who run New York business, what a town. They're too afraid. They're like, you know what? He's probably going to win. So I have to keep my mouth shut because I need to kiss the ring and have favors done for me. And this guy, according to the latest polls, is steamrolling toward the W today because if somebody doesn't get over 50% of the vote, and it's between him and Cuomo, then they go, it's ranked choice. So they eliminate the lowest person on the list in terms of vote getters. And all those people who vote for that person, their second choice gets their votes, which could put and is predicted to put this guy over the top, this Mamdani. And Mamdani is such an odd duck. He wasn't born here. I think he was born in Uganda and lived there for the first 7 years and then came here. But I mean, you come to a country at age 7 and now you're 33. You sound like American. You don't sound like a Ugandan at that point. I mean, it's been 25 years plus. But listen to him. This hit today as he was doing an interview with, forgive me, I don't know who it was, looked like local news to me. And listen to what a faker this dude is with he's Kamala Harris in his switcheroos, NBC4's Melissa Russo. Listen to this.
Because I think that New Yorkers, more than they hate a politician they disagree with, they hate a politician they can't trust.
On the subject of trust, you've adopted different speaking accents in different scenarios.
But they go to their local bodega.
Is there one that's real and one that's affected?
What I would say is, as any immigrant knows, having been born in Kampala, Uganda, and then raised in South Africa and moving here when I'm 7 years old, is there are different parts of my life.
Worldwide tour is a worldwide tour.
Mamdani was talking about a worldwide press tour back when he was a rapper.
Bring the flavor to the fish, bring the flavor to the rice.
In a Disney movie directed by his mother.
Nepotism and hard work goes a long way. Here in New York City, this is how I speak. This is how I am.
Oh my God.
If I switch that accent, is a real thing. It's a real thing. Do you think I'd get in trouble if I did his accent? Like if I was like in different shows?
Fifth column.
I do it on the fifth column. Actually, that's true. But the best detail of that is like in the rap video directed by his mother, which is really hot tracks that are dropping. I know Matt has a lot to say. I'll just say quickly that it is interesting today, as you point out, Megyn, it's 40,000 degrees in New York. And it feels like Cuba, and people are going to go vote to make it more like Cuba in almost every way. And it's like super depressing. But yeah, you missed a few ones, like where he suggested using empty spaces in disused train stations, and I think some that are actually used train stations to house the homeless. Which, if you know anything about New York and you ride the subway in New York, as I do, know that that's not a problem. That's already happening. Yeah. And also, the same thing is true about the free buses. Because we have to make the buses are already free. Nobody pays for the bus in New York, and nobody pays for the subway. And one of the great things is like how incompetent and feckless the government in New York is. They've now spent billions of dollars to have this Allied International, whatever the company is, that provides guards there who don't do anything. There's just a guy getting paid to watch people go through the subway and not pay for it every day. So I don't know where they think this stuff is going to come from, where the money's going to come from, who's going to pay for it. Free childcare, rent freezes. Like, this is a collection of voodoo economics that every economist on earth knows doesn't work. So yeah, I mean, I have
another objection. I don't think that's a Ugandan accent anyway. Sounds like an Indian accent to me. Worldwide tour after worldwide tour. It's cultural appropriation on top of all the other problems.
He's also an exploiter, because remember that the Indians in Uganda, many Indians came from Uganda because in 1971 or 72, Idi Amin, the dictator, when he took over Uganda, kicked all the Indians out. And the reason being is they were about 1% of the population. They controlled like 60% of the wealth because there was a huge population of Indian doctors, et cetera. So that's why he is Indian, and he was actually born in Uganda, because in the sort of DSA, Democratic Socialist view of the world, he was a horrible exploiter. So yeah, that's.
So do we have to give him a pass? Maybe we have to give him a pass on that. But I don't give him a pass on that, because he's an American who sounds like an American in every other interview he gives. Right? It's only when he needs it, like Kamala Harris. Have you no empathy, man? That it's my sorrow.
Kmele, you know how to code switch.
I mean,
we're having
well. It happens, but it doesn't usually happen in contexts where I'm doing media. If I'm around family and everyone has the heavy patois, I might slip into it a little bit. But for the most part, because they will ridicule me because I don't do it well, I try my best to police it. I'm usually aware of it when it's happening, though. I don't make a conscious choice, but I at least know that I'm doing it. And I don't know. I think for both him and Kamala, you can kind of see the switch almost take place. You know the context in which they're about to go into this particular style of oration for persuasive purposes.
Kmele, can I interrupt you?
I frown on that.
I can't deal with this lying on one of the greatest podcasts in America. It might be true that when you are amongst your Jamaican family, you're like, oh, you lazy blood clot, and you do stuff like that. Fine. But I have seen you on the New York subway in a different situation, code switch into a different accent. Is that not true? Kmele Foster.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it right now. I know that you don't. Yeah. So if someone steps on your brand new Yeezys.
No.
What are you going to say, Kmele?
You want me to slip into my urban vernacular.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I understand.
Let's hear that.
And I do has to do that sometimes, but that is under particular circumstances. And it is not usually to confront someone who stepped on my shoes. Yeah. Sometimes it's to evade detection in circumstances where I would rather you not know that I'm very clean and articulate.
Yes. For people to call you like you look like my uncle Thomas, like, for instance, when I've heard people say that.
I've heard that before. I've never met the man, but I've
never met the man. Yeah, but then you're like,
say you remind them.
Show us voting.
Yeah.
If we're cross-examining Kmele, can we get a vote, Kmele, on Mamdani's rapism? How is his rhyming over there?
Well, Matt, I was watching your face. Had you not seen the clips of him rapping before?
No.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. But also, terrible. I will say this: Afrobeats is kind of a big thing. And it is interesting, and there are great Afrobeats artists, but he is not one of them. So it's good that he gave that career up. It's unfortunate that he's decided to run for mayor. So
yeah, exactly. Wait, Steve Krakauer wants us to take a look at another clip. I don't know what it is. Just roll it. Let's see.
Oh no.
Our future will not be different until we make a different choice. We have to fill out the entire ballot and do not rank Andrew Cuomo. New York City, we need a new day. We deserve a chance. A New York City that centers working people. All of these concepts are just ideas in the clouds if we do not bring them home. Elect Zohran for mayor.
Oh God.
Leave them in the clouds.
Did you hear her doing the Obama thing? Like she does.
She's another code switcher.
Yeah. I was waiting to see which one of those affects she was going to bring. I expected the wise Latina, but we didn't get that in that particular ad.
But you know what? I hate this idea of working people. Like the only people who work just do like jobs that don't pay very well, and it's like manual labor. The rest of us don't work. We're not working people. But one of the things the reason I don't know about the rapism in his code switching is that I've been paying attention to his outrageously shitty ideas. And one of them...
That's what makes you racist.
Yeah, I do. Well, clearly, because I don't want to give my money to the MTA to set on fire, which they already do. But you see guys like John Katzimatidis, who's like a perennial candidate in New York. He has a show on, I think he owns WABC. And he owns Gristedes Supermarket. He had a comment the other day, which is true. He's been talking to his fellow rich people who definitely don't work because they're not working people. And about, particularly in like the financial services industry, this stuff is portable, man. They don't have shops. They don't have like, we have a store on the corner. Can we move? Like they can move to Miami, as so many people very easily. So I know you hate those guys, but it's your tax base. And the number of people who say, well, they got to pay their fair share. Look who pays the taxes in New York City. And on top of it, people should know this who don't live in this, as you point out, Megyn, the best city on earth, but also the worst at times too, is that we don't pay federal tax only. We don't pay state tax only. There's a city tax in New York, which is also punishing. And you increased that on people. The number of people who are not working.
We paid over 50% taxes easily
between
federal, state, city. Then they lob on extra taxes, like just if you're rich enough, just like extra random fees that you have to pay. That's an additional, like your rent tax and all that. Like there is so much taxation already in New York.
So much.
And people are fleeing. They've already been fleeing. There's only so many people Ron DeSantis can house. I'm not sure what the plan is here because
I love using the verb
we'll watch.
He has to house
We'll see. How about the center? You know how we hate platform? Isn't centering also equally annoying?
God.
Worst verb.
It's not a verb. You can't. They make fun of rich people for saying they summer places, right?
Yes.
Centering is worse than summering. Okay.
Years ago, we knew this family, and the woman was like, we saw these boats lined up, and we're like, oh wow, that's really cool. It's like this big motorboat, and she goes, I prefer a sailing vessel. And that's the same kind of person who uses the term center. Sailing vessel.
I'm glad you mentioned Brandon Johnson in Chicago, Megyn, because it's a good example. I think that Mamdani is trying to Chicago, New York, where really, really awful democratic and democratic socialist governance treats an existing, great city. Chicago is a wonderful city that still throws off a lot of wealth. They just treat it as something to act as a predator on. Like, okay, cool, we've got a guaranteed revenue stream. I'm going to get more of it, use it to accumulate power, and use it to enrich my buddies, usually in some kind of public sector union context. And in the process, you're going to have levels of debt and obligations to pensions. People are going to run fleeing because the combined taxation of the place is just insane. That's what's happening here. It's what's happening to way, way, way too many large cities in this country. I know there's a couple of guys out with a book called The Abundance Agenda, trying to convince Democrats to be more, useful on like have public policy tethered to results. And they're getting tons of pushback, by the way, from the left. Like, how dare you say the government work? It's a really bad sign that there is a large number of people in New York who look at a guy who's never worked a day in his life, as far as I can tell, in the private sector.
He's been working for his mother.
Rapping is hard work.
We are days away from what has been dubbed by some the Rio Reset, what some worry could be a threat to the U.S. dollar's global dominance in over 80 years. On July 6th, BRICS nations, that's Russia, China, India, and Iran, and some more, are expected to unveil their plans to circumvent the U.S. dollar, thus cratering, its value. Some report that they've already been laying the groundwork as their central banks have been methodically divesting from the U.S. dollar and U.S. bonds in favor of gold. How can you protect your IRA or 401k from the fallout from this landmark shift? One option is to diversify with gold from Birch Gold Group. Historically, gold has been a safe haven in times of high uncertainty, which is right now. Get a free info kit on tax-sheltered gold IRAs by texting the word MK letters to 989898. July 6th could mark a monumental shift happening among nations that control 1/3 of the world's GDP. Arm yourself with information to diversify your retirement savings. Text MK to 989898 and claim your free info kit from Birch Gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.